Welcome back, everybody. I'm Jay. That's Maddie. This is Yankee and the Brit. It's week 14, and this year is just flying by.
Yeah, welcome in, guys, to the show. Week 14. I think we basically know who every single team in the league is, bar a few. There are a few schizophrenic teams, let's say, who will show up one week and then don't show up the next. But we're going to be reacting to all things week 14. We're going to first cover the Dallas Cowboys loss to the Detroit Lions. What does that mean for the Dallas Cowboys playoff hopes? What does that mean for Detroit going to the Super Bowl? And how can either team improve or fix what needed to be improved? Jay, we're probably going to have to talk about the refs in that one again, unfortunately. And then we're going to move on to our early window preview and spread betting for week 14, where we go through every single game in that early window and preview the spread bets and what we would take. We're doing well this year before moving on to our late window Sunday night game and Monday night game, where we spread bet every single game with you guys as well. Finishing off with our fantasy players to watch. Guys, are you on crunch time for making it into the playoffs? Take our players to make sure that you get in there. Come join us for fantasy players to watch at the end of the show. But Jay, the Dallas Cowboys played the Detroit Lions and they went down. And didn't feel great watching that game. Not gonna lie, was a real struggle. I've had a real up-down sports week this week. The Dallas Cowboys lose, the England cricket team lose, but Lando Norris is the Formula One world champion as of an hour ago, so that's great. But that's a sport that no Americans really give a shit about, so that's okay.
Besides Darius Butler, because for some reason he got into F1, which is very odd. But
Terry Crews loves F1 as well. He always shows up in Vegas to drive some weird American car full of the F1 drivers and stuff like that as well.
He doesn't know better, guys. Don't hit him up in the comments over the Terry Crews. He doesn't know better.
What's okay. No, it doesn't matter. Anyway, let's go to
it's not horrible. It's just he's kind of a joke here. That's all. It's not like he's hated. Like he's kind of the punchline to some jokes. That's all.
He's a massive meme in the UK as well. So that's
okay.
Was over borders. But the Thursday night game was the Detroit Lions beating the Dallas Cowboys. Jay, I'm going to start this on a positive for the Detroit Lions. Does this win give us more confidence to Dan Campbell's play calling? Did he get his play calling right in this game?
I got to start this by saying, so I watched that game and I was like, I have my thoughts. And then I was doing our reels and the shorts for YouTube. And I'm listening to some of them and I'm like, oh, the way Maddie's talking, I was like, he willed them to a loss. Like, like you were so excited. Not that I'm really blaming you, but that overexcitement is like, we should have known better that if either one of us are that excited about our team, it's going down in flames. But I was kind of impressed with Dan Campbell. He called him and the punter made up. I'm not sure. Like him and the punter made up. I'm not sure what the issue was, but they're friends again. And he used them on 4th and 2. On 4th and 2, Dan Campbell punted. Like that was wild. This is the Lions, though. I think everybody's expecting to see, and when they don't, they're like, "What the fuck is going on?"
Yeah, I agree. I think as well on Dan Campbell, like he managed a good game overall. There's a first time for everything. That's great. But what he did really well was he attacked the weak spot, like the true weak spot of the Dallas. It was get the ball out of Jared Goff's hands into Jahmyr Gibbs over the middle, and the Dallas Cowboys were just immediately on the back foot because Jahmyr Gibbs had a crazy game just attacking that soft middle. The linebackers that we've brought in, we have a much improved game against the run, but we're going to really struggle if you have a Jahmyr Gibbs a Bijan Robinson going a Christian McCaffrey going one-on-one against those linebackers, and Dan Campbell called the right plays to attack that area, and fair play.
He started off the jump with Gibbs too. Like that was the thing. And when we were talking Thursday, I was like, that's who's going to hurt you if they hurt you. It's going to be Jahmyr Gibbs, right? So like, which was the most obvious take. It's not like I'm peacocking about that one, right? Because that's the most obvious take. But that it makes me go back to that draft though. And I said this before, and I'm like, yeah, he just might be better than Bijan. And that's not taking a shot at Bijan. That's just how good Gibbs is. Like, he literally might be better than Bijan.
Yeah, I would be interested to see Bijan in a place where he can actually get used. Like if Bijan was in the Detroit Lions and Gibbs was in, it would be interesting. But Jahmyr Gibbs is a top running back, and get him into those spaces. The Dallas Cowboys did start to stop that at points. They started to make a bit of a comeback. Like he then went off in the fourth quarter again once the comeback was kind of over, thanks to some interesting calls from referees. But the Dallas Cowboys managed to stop that. But it was at the point of this game has already got out of hand because of how quick Dan Campbell and the Detroit Lions went to that game plan, and throughout the week, they went and planned that game out. They made it solid, and fair play to Dan Campbell on that one. Jay, sorry, go on.
I was just going to say, I think that the Cowboys probably win that game if George Pickens actually wanted to be there.
Some of his route running was pretty weak in that one. I feel like that was the George Pickens that we've been staving off seeing. I feel like as well, if CeeDee Lamb doesn't concussed himself on like trying to get the ball in the end zone, that should have just been lapped into his hands. Dak was missing like down the field, like wide open touchdowns every now and again. But that happens. George Pickens, what can't happen is you need to run your route like to the fullest. Like it looked like he'd started to believe the hype. Like it looked like he was running his routes in the way that he'd started to believe the hype, which believe the hype, that's great, but you still need to put in the same effort that we've seen throughout the season, and that's the George Pickens that we've been going away for. But Jay, the Cowboys made a big resurgence. I thought that like they went 21.
Thanks, I appreciate you.
That's nice. That's Ronaldinho on his thing as well. Ronaldinho's his tag. But the Dallas Cowboys, Jay,
I thought spoke a different language.
It's a famous football player, soccer player. But the Dallas Cowboys look like
ghost account.
The Dallas Cowboys look like they were beginning to mount a comeback. They had some rough, like it was some rough play in there to begin with, but they really did look like they had the beating of the Detroit Lions in that second half. They looked like they were able to make a comeback, but Jay, did the refs take away a comeback for the Dallas Cowboys? Do you think some bad play calling from the refs really made them struggle?
Well, I think there was bad on both sides of the refs were just awful. And I'm just sitting here thinking, I do slightly resemble an egg, so he's not that far off. Anyway, well, it's kind of an upside down egg, I was just thinking, but whatever. Now everybody's like, I can't unsee it. I think the reffing in that bad was the officiating in that game was awful. And I think this goes back to what we've been talking about all year. Like, the technology's getting better, the officiating's getting worse. I almost feel like the NFL is doing it to say fuck you. Like, I know they're not, but it almost feels like it's a big fuck you to everybody who bitches about the officiating, because that game got hard to watch. They threw flags over every stupid shit, and then there was phantom calls on both sides. I was like, what are we doing?
Yeah, it completely destroyed like what looked like was going to be a fun, free-flowing game. And my big problem with it, Jay, is they let them play in the first quarter. It's like they really let them play and go out in the first quarter. Some of the cornerback coverage from the Lions they were coming. I was cool with it as long as it was going to go both sides and it was going to go all the way through the games. It was like rough coverage. I'm like, okay, yeah, this is great. Two offensive teams, allow the defenders to play a bit rough, allow the defenders to play some like rougher coverage. It'll make for a really good game, not just up and down the entire time. And then the flags just started flying everywhere. Like the laundry on the field was insane, like all the way throughout. And it just destroyed any semblance of a good game and anybody trying to get things back together. I would say, obviously, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, and fully admit my bias there, I would say the calls probably unfavored the Cowboys a little bit just because of how big the plays were, but fully acknowledge that the Detroit Lions had them on their side as well. The one play, Jay, that I have an interesting problem with, and I don't think the refs got the play call. The refs didn't get the play call wrong, or the tech didn't get the play call wrong because they overturned it. There was the Jake Ferguson offensive pass interference, which I think everybody could just agree is the most fucking phantom call ever. Like, what was that? Like, what was that? But the big one was the lateral pass, which was a fumble because it went backwards. No problem with that. But they blow it up as incomplete. But Jake Ferguson recovers the ball and is on his feet, not downed, and has space to run into. And because they call the play dead, Jake Ferguson doesn't move up into that space. But because they then change it to a fumble off the field, the Cowboys have a 3rd and 26 when it could have been Jake Ferguson had about 10 yards of free space to run into. It could have been a 3rd and 16 isn't a big change, but it's just a weird rule that I thought was just like, that's an interesting rule. I doubt it's really happened before. Maybe the NFL might look at that. But I thought they were getting told, because they now use the technology, to swallow the whistle a little bit more on those kind of plays and let the play out. And it's what got the Lions. The next play, Jake Ferguson fumbles the ball trying to make it 3rd and 26. And it's what gets the Lions 14 points to 0 up and means the Cowboys have to go away from their original game plan. Like, it's just an interesting play call. Like, I'm sure it's the right call. It's just something the NFL should maybe look at.
So it's the mechanics you have an issue with?
Yeah. It's the mechanics I don't have a problem with the call. I have a problem with the mechanics of the call.
By the same argument, then Dan Skipper had a touchdown against you guys last year and should have lost that game. Because was the mechanics of the call that was a problem, and that should have been a touchdown for the Lions. So, like
that, yes, like that was the mechanics of the call. As long as they can confirm that Dan Skipper did call into the play, and if they confirm that, then it should have been a touchdown. That should have been a touchdown.
Well, I'm just saying, we all seen him run up to the ref. I'm sure he wasn't giving him his lunch order.
Right. That should have definitely been a touchdown. So there's things where the NFL should be looking at it and going,
yeah, but that's the NFL. Like, if the whistle blows, it doesn't change. And I get people get upset, but it doesn't change the ruling on the field. And because it's the only sport where you really can have dead ball penalties, unless, like in basketball, to get a dead ball penalty, you almost have to catch a personal foul, right? You have to like get up and say something or something wild. Where in NFL, it's really weird because you can get these penalties that are in between plays more often. So I think the mechanics of the call, I don't know how they fix it, I guess. I don't know.
Well, I do think on that one, it was a very clear lateral pass that should have been a fumble, and they should have let the whole play run out. I feel that's the issue.
Right now, and then I'm not trying to defend them, but then this becomes an argument between the call and player safety and somebody, you know what I mean? So I don't know. Yeah, I just don't know if there's a mechanics that can be fixed in certain situations, because the NFL is so weird compared to other sports on where penalties and dead ball penalties and pre-snap penalties and, like, you know what I mean? It's such a different sport in the fact that basketball, soccer, they're all just ever-flowing games, it feels like.
Yeah, I feel like it was probably the fairest way to have adjudicated that and to have ruled that was a replay of down. Like, I think, like, because they swallowed the play. No, because they didn't swallow the flag, and Jake Ferguson has the ball and is in open ground. So the play was called over when the play wasn't over. The play wasn't over, and they called the play over.
Yeah, but that happens to guys. That happens to guys who catch a ball on the 30, and then they call it, it was incomplete or whatever, and then he doesn't get a chance to get up and run because the whistle was blowing it, but the ball was never incomplete. He caught it. Like, that kind of stuff happens in mid play too.
Yeah, and they should be swallowing their whistle more and that kind of stuff. I guess that's my point with the tech. But I get like player safety and I get like off penalty calls. It just feels like that felt wrong. Like that feels.
Yeah, that's the
really
thing.
Wrong.
You're gonna feel grimy after some plays in the NFL, no matter what. It just
that felt that like if that happened to any team, I think I would look at that and go, the difference between a 3rd and 16 when it's 7-0 and a 3rd and 26 is pretty huge. And then it's the fact that Jake Ferguson fumbles it on the literally I think it's like a play later or 2 plays later as well. That really pissed me off. And then if that was the only problem, fine, that was the only problem. But then offensive pass interference, and it's just like
that game was atrocious. Like
the reffing was horrific.
We were just talking last week how the refs need to have some kind of accountability, and there is none. Which I think if there was some kind of bonus system, some kind of grading system, and they actually lost money somehow or gained money by doing it correctly, I think we'd see a whole different. But again, it comes back to full-time refs too.
Really importantly, on the point of people watching this and going well, obviously Matty's saying this, he's biased. I did text Jay during the thing saying how terrible the penalties were against Detroit at points as well, and I said Fox won Dallas in the Super Bowl and they've paid the referees. There was a lot of play calls against Detroit as well. So on my original question, which was, did the refs cost the Dallas Cowboys a comeback? I think because of the time and how big the play was that they called the penalty, maybe. But most importantly, they cost us an actually really good game. And it was atrocious. Jay, did the Dallas Cowboys become too pass-centric early on in that game? They obviously go down very quickly. Do you think they went to the pass a bit too quickly?
Yes, but I don't always blame coach for that, because when you get down, if it's easy for us as the fans and after the game or the media to go they should have stayed the course and run the ball. Yeah, except if they let Detroit get up another fucking touchdown, then the game's over earlier, right? So I get this argument, but it becomes at what point do you have to just go for it and try to keep this game close? And that's something that's always going to be subjective, right? So you're always going to have arguments on both sides. I try not to kill the coaches for those kind of decisions, but I still think it was a big problem. And I think that they made the wrong decision. I just have a hard time crucifying coaches for that decision, because as a fan, I'm as ridiculous as anybody, and I'll be watching a game and I'll be like, oh, fuck, if they score on this drive, the game's over, and it's literally 8 minutes into the first quarter.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys can score so quickly. They've shown it in other games. They should be building they play their best when they're building their offense off the run game. And that doesn't mean that they're the best run team in the world. It just because their and their offensive line is much better against the run as well. Dak faced a lot of pressure in that game. So if you're running the ball, you're giving play action, it gives your offensive linemen some help as well. In that as well. In the game, Dak had the Dallas Cowboys don't win football games by Dak Prescott having 47 dropbacks, 47 pass attempts. Sorry. Javonte Williams still had 17 carries, so it's not like they didn't run the ball. It was just they came off running the ball pretty quickly.
Do you feel like this makes the Cowboys hesitant to pay Pickens? Because I really feel like he's the reason you guys lost that game.
I think throughout the season, I feel like he deserves the pay. I feel like it might make them a little hesitant, but
because are you now oh, this is the George Pickens shit? Is that it might be over? It might be over the top. I'm just wondering if you think that has an effect.
My one problem with not paying George Pickens is not actually this, because if we get the season of production we've had with George Pickens with a couple of these games thrown in, I'm still okay with that deal. That's fine, right? What I don't want is George Pickens gets paid and then this becomes his new normal. Does he feel did he play that way because he feels like he's already been paid? He feels like he's already earned his money and that's why he played like that. I don't think so. I think he has shown since coming to Dallas that he does have that kind of dog. It's just, I could understand worrying about it.
I have to bring it up because of the show, but for me, honestly, I think he's the reason you lost the game. I don't think it's a trend. I don't think he did it maliciously. I think just something happened, and I'm not sure that that's going to see the Pickens you move forward. But because of his history in Pittsburgh, plus I don't – and just to be fair to him, I think sometimes the history in Pittsburgh, people don't look at the fact that you and I have talked about it. This is a great player that was not being utilized, so he was pissed off. So I'm not sure it was a problem. But it is also a talking point with all the, shows this week or this last couple of days too, is what's going on with George Pickens and the Dallas Cowboys. But, that's always good clickbait for the –
they're always going to just focus on diva wide receiver. It's just such a trope that they'll always look for. I think he's
the only thing that helps the Cowboys this week is I think the Stephen A. Max Kellerman beef is bigger than the Cowboys loss. So
yeah, no, I've seen that. I don't really know what that is, but I've seen it. With the other thing that caused the Dallas Cowboys the loss was a rough start in the second half. They come out, it's like, okay, Dallas can go back-to-back scores. If we score a touchdown here, we go in front. And Dak throws an immediate interception, like an ugly interception straight off the bat. And it's just like, okay, like, fuck. And I think from there that it was always like, we're coming back from that point. That's always going to be a struggle coming back from there. Dak can't throw interceptions. Just the way that he plays, just the way that the Cowboys play, he has to not throw interceptions. And that's obviously easier said than done. His interception to turnover ratio is actually very good this year, but I can see people crucifying Dak already. And I think, again, just a big game, unfortunate. But
yeah, I don't think it's Dak's fault in that game. I don't think that Dak's to blame. I do want to thank George Pickens real quick. Because of George Pickens, they have all the talking heads have stopped talking about how how Justin Jefferson should request a trade, because that's the new way of sports, I guess. One bad season, the R should ask out, which is, I'm seeing it with the Bucks the last 5 years too. Oh, they haven't won a championship since Giannis carried them, so he should leave. Justin Jefferson even comes out and says, I'm not going anywhere. And they're still like, yeah, Justin Jefferson gone next year. So thank you, George. I don't have to listen to that this week because you picked up the slack.
Yeah, I did. Like, I think, was George Pickens at fault for one of those interceptions, or am I misremembering? Like, he doesn't undercut his route enough, and then therefore the defender's able to, he doesn't like box out the defender, basically. He's able to come make a play.
I think it was the worst game he's had this year with you guys.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the other thing is CeeDee Lamb goes out after 6 catches for 121 yards. CeeDee Lamb has to go out trying to make a spectacular catch. He gives himself a concussion.
It has to start to be worrying, and I know they're different injuries, but like this year, CeeDee Lamb is like injury after injury.
Yeah, he's just getting banged up. This one was a bit of a freak one, like coming down and smacking the back of his head, trying to make a spectacular play.
That's what happens when they label you injury prone. I'm not saying he is, but everything you have, you can have a foot one time and a shoulder the next, and they're like, that guy's injury prone. And you're like,
it's like Joe Burrow has this pretty much the same injury like every single time, or it's an injury to a similar area. It's just a slightly different injury. It's to his lower knee. Like, that is basically where.
Well, that's the problem with Michael Penix, right? He had those 2 awful knee injuries in college. And now he's injured again, so they're like, oh, he's injury prone. It's like, well, he just got fucking hit really good, so I'm not sure that falls into injury prone. But that's us in the sports world. We're right away got to label somebody something.
Yeah, and there's a big concern. He suffered a concussion, like, while he was coming up, where CeeDee Lamb was coming up there, it genuinely looked like he didn't know where he was. Like, he knocked himself out, like, whilst trying to, which, like, that's the kind of shit I don't want to see George Pickens knock himself out, but that's the kind of shit you want to see from, like CeeDee Lamb is not as talented as George Pickens, as we've seen this season, but CeeDee Lamb is a straight up workhorse and puts his body on the line. The reason he looks injury prone is the amount of work he was having to get through for the Cowboys at the end of the season last year. Like, because it was, the whole offense was give the ball to CeeDee Lamb underneath and he'll go make a play, like go make a yak play, or it was throw the ball up to CeeDee Lamb and see what happens, so and he looked like he was out on his feet. So the other thing, Jay, last thing on the Cowboys, we'll talk about the Lions very quickly after this. But is that the Cowboys' chances of the playoffs over for you? If they win out every game from here, I think they're 10-6-1 if they win out every game.
The only reason I say yes is because I saw a stat that they have like a 9% chance of making the playoffs after losing that game. And that means that there's a lot of shit that would have to happen for them to get into the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. Like, I've seen the 9% chance. Look, it basically what needs to happen for the Cowboys to make the playoffs now, just because like the Cowboys will be very rightly pissed off if they don't make it going 10. I think it's 10-7-1 because like every other year of the extended playoffs, 10 wins gets you in. 10 wins gets you in. Like every year of the extended playoffs so far. The only way they can get in now because of the NFC playoff picture really is the Philadelphia Eagles now have to lose 3 games, which if they lose against the Chargers and the Bills, they're the 2 that I've seen. But then they play the Commanders twice and the Giant, like they play the Commanders twice and then the Raiders another time or something like that. So that third loss would have to be Jaden Daniels comes out and looks absolutely amazing. But
here's the problem.
Go on.
The NFC West has 3 teams with 9 wins. The NFC South has 2 teams with 7 wins. The North has 3 teams with 8 or 9 wins. And then you're sitting with 6 wins. So like you're battling 6 teams for a playoff for a wild card spot.
Yeah, exactly. And with the Cowboys, it's 10 wins. It's tough. Like that, I don't think they'll make it into the wild card round just because of that. Like they won't make it into the wild card round. So they need to win the division. So can the Dallas Cowboys make the playoffs?
That's the 9%. I bet they're like, yeah.
Can the Dallas Cowboys make the playoffs? Well, it depends how you feel about the fall off of the Eagles towards the end of the season. Because
so what we're pretty much saying is the only way not the only way, but the only way for the Cowboys to make a sure run at the playoffs is that they have to beat out the Eagles for the division.
Yeah, the Eagles have to lose 3 times. The Cowboys have to win out from here. The Cowboys' schedule now is a piece of piss. It's like they played these 4 really difficult games all back to back to back, and then they've got the Giants once and the Commanders twice now to finish up the season. Or it's like, they've already played the Commanders. It's the Giants twice and the Commanders once or something. So they need the Eagles to lose 2 games. The Eagles have got the Chargers today. They've got the Raiders next week. Commanders. Bills, Commanders again. So really we're looking at how much better are the Commanders now Jaden Daniels is in. And that's the question. I don't see the Eagles losing 3 games. I did see them losing those 2 games, one against the Chargers and one against the Bills, but I don't see them losing against the Commanders. So if I was betting
today's important for you, Maddie.
I'll be watching that Eagles game. Well, next week. It's not next week, sorry. It's on Monday Night Football, sorry, isn't it?
Monday. Well, okay, this week's important for you, though. Yeah.
Big deal. Jay, what about the Lions' playoff contentions? Like, do you think this performance gives some confidence to the Lions making the Super Bowl? We've said that Dan Campbell is their biggest problem, and Dan Campbell was a genuine asset to them in that game.
I think for the Lions, I think for any of the teams in the NFC North, it's like if you can get that home field advantage, it makes the road to the Super Bowl so much easier. Like I think I said it to you in the group chat. Like if the if the Bears can win the North and get the first round bye, it changes everything you think about how far the Bears can go, because it made your first games at home. And then if you win, you get the NFC Championship game at home. It's 2 wins and you're in. It changes the outlook for anybody right now if you can win the number 1 seed. But I think that the Lions are one of those teams where if they don't get the number 1 seed, you're probably not getting to the Super Bowl. You're good enough, but I just don't have faith in Dan Campbell to not make bad decisions, which puts you behind the 8 ball. The same guy who changed life in Detroit, and don't get me wrong, he changed life in Detroit after 30 years. It's the same guy. I don't think it's the same coaching that's going to get you to the Super Bowl. So I think the same guy who turned it around is going to end up being the hindrance to you in the playoffs.
Yeah, you get guys that come into companies to save the company from liquidation, to like save the company from going bankrupt, right? There are people whose skill is doing that, but they're not going to be the CFO of Amazon for the rest of the time. Like that's not their skill set. Dan Campbell is the guy you bring in to fix shit, and Ben Johnson was the guy that takes you to the next level. Like that's so really they should have made that handover from.
It's so hard, but yes, I agree. We've talked about this before. It's so hard to get rid of Dan Campbell when you're doing that well, but Ben Johnson's the guy.
They would never have done it. It would have been crazy if they did do it. It would have been too risky. Like NFL teams are actually quite risk averse just in general. Like NFL ownerships, especially, like if the team is doing okay, then that's usually fine because billionaires line in their pockets. So, but the big call would have been getting Ben Johnson because he's the guy that takes you to that next level. Dan Campbell did fix everything. And look, if Dan Campbell got sacked for the Detroit Lions, which he definitely won't, but if he did, and then would you be surprised if Miami were all of a sudden a playoff team again if they hired him? Or like, the fucking Bengals would be amazing if they hired Dan Campbell, like to go get that kind of stuff done. Or the Falcons would be amazing if they went and got Dan Campbell. Like Dan Campbell is a great place to go if you're a struggling team, but he can't take them to that next level. I think the Lions team is good enough if they do that play calling to kind of get themselves to do the playoffs, but they have to learn from the game that they just had against the Dallas Cowboys to get there. Yeah. Okay. Shall we move on to Sunday now? Put that game in the past. Moving on to Sunday, our early window, week 14 spread bets. Jay, we're going to start off in Cleveland. The Cleveland Browns are 4.5-point favorites against the Tennessee Titans. Jay, could Myles Garrett break the season sack record in this game? He's got 19 sacks.
3.5 to tie it?
Yeah, 3.5 to tie it. He's got 19 sacks. The record is Michael Strahan and TJ Watt at 22.5. Do you reckon he makes it? 4 sacks in this game gets him there.
Yeah, I doubt he gets it this game, but it does really make it look like he's going to get there. But he wants to get there in the next 3 games because he does not want to hear that it took him 17 games to break, and no shot at Michael Strahan. I love Michael Strahan. He deserves it, but Brett Favre laid down for him on that last sack. So, there's always going to be that argument too. So it would be nice for the NFL if you just get Myles Garrett to get it in 16 games. Then we no longer have to talk about he did it in 17, and we don't have to listen to people like me going, yeah, but Brett Favre laid down for you on that last sack.
Yeah, and Jay, I really do think he might have a chance to get there.
I don't think it's impossible, but 4 is a lot to ask.
The Titans' offensive line struggles, and Cam Ward holds the ball as long as longer than most quarterbacks in the NFL, and is a rookie who has been under pressure all season. So would you be surprised if he walked into? I think, Jake, the big problem is the fact I don't think either team are going to really be focusing on running the ball in this game. At 6 p.m. UK time is when the game kicks off. It is 0 degrees Celsius it'll be 0 degrees Celsius in Cleveland with a 75% chance of rain. It is currently raining there. It is currently light snow and moderate breeze there right now. And the game is in 2 hours time, and that snow is meant to continue all the way through. So I'm really thinking that there's not going to be much of a passing game for either team on this one. So maybe he won't have the chance because the Titans won't drop back enough. Jay, how does that? Who do you think that weather favors in this game when we're talking a spread of 4.5?
I mean, it favors the Browns because they're from colder climate, but 32, which is 0 Celsius, 32 is not really that cold for. Yes, it's freezing literally, but. I mean, I'm in Wisconsin today, and it's 15 degrees outside, whereas we're talking 32. It's half the temperature, and Green Bay's going to play Chicago here. And both teams are probably going to be fine because it's sunny as hell but freezing, right? So I don't think that cold. I think that somebody in the UK, they're like, oh, shit, 0 is cold, which it is. But we get.
Plenty of rugby at 0. I mean, it's more the snow that we're looking at.
I do think, but I think this is what this plays right into the Browns' hands because Tennessee is warmer climate. They're not used to this. And when they do get bad weather, it's an ice storm, not a snowstorm. So, like, they're not used to the same type of weather. It's different, but Tennessee's weather reminds me a lot of, like, Dallas. It's not as warm as you think it is, but it's never as cold as other places.
Yeah, I think with that as well, like, the Browns, look, the Titans have a sneakily good run game. Like, their run game is okay. Their run defense is okay, like the Titans as well, considering how terrible they are. Like, I'm not saying it's like one of the top, but considering they're a 1-win team, they have elements of the team that are okay. It's just have never been able to put a full performance together. But the Browns defense is incredible. And the Browns run game, I do think it kind of helps Sheuder. I don't really see this weak arm stuff that everybody's talking about with Sheuder Sanders. Like, that was a big thing with him coming out the draft. Since he's been in the NFL, I've not really seen that. I don't think he's got a weak arm. Like, is it the strongest arm in the NFL? No, but you don't need the strongest arm in the NFL to get that.
Yeah, I feel at some point they're just trying to find shit to nitpick, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I never once in college or the pros watched Sheuder throw a ball and go, oh, his arm's not as strong or not strong enough. Never did it cross my mind.
That's still going to get there. Yeah, and it's like you're comparing it to Dylan Gabriel. Well, he's got a more, like, Dylan Gabriel might have a technically stronger arm in terms of, like, velocity of airspeed, but Sheuder Sanders has a much more live arm. Like, he's like, his arm actually is
the ball comes off his hand pretty well. And to me, he's way more accurate and he throws a better deep ball. So I don't know why anybody's even having a conversation. This whole Dylan Gabriel thing, and they can say what they want. They knew in training camp that Sheuder was better. They didn't want to look like fucking idiots.
You can tell by the players' reactions on the sideline to Sheuder Sanders that they've known that Sheuder Sanders.
Myles Garrett went fucking ape shit on that one touchdown pass. When your captain, your best player is up like that, you already know the rest of the team feels that way.
Yeah. Jay, going back to the game that they had where it's, Sheuder didn't play badly, didn't play incredibly well against the 49ers. The more I've watched that game, I've gone back and watched that game again and thought, do you know what? Like, Kevin Stefanski put them in some really bad situations and made the job a lot harder for Sheuder. Like, it wasn't the snowstorm that everybody was predicting in Cleveland, but it was windy as fuck as well. Like, that game shouldn't have been as easy for the 49ers to score points, but Kevin Stefanski was going for it in places when before the 49ers were able to move the ball at all. Kevin Stefanski started going for it in weird places, which is strange. And
do you think sometimes coaches do that because they already have so many losses, the season's over, and they're like, fuck it, let's go try to get this win. Let's just see what we can do and get this win.
Yeah, I just think that, like, what is the Cleveland Browns' best route to the win? Well, it was keeping the 49ers below 20 points or whatever, and like that was the best way to do it. But I think that weather might favor Sheuder Sanders. Jay, is Sheuder Sanders competing for a starting job next year, do you think, or do you think he's competing for a spot on the roster? Because I've seen that mentioned a few times as well.
I think this whole conversation is crazy. Already, to me, he is the starting quarterback next year. Where do you fucking go? And like, you know what I mean, Maddie? Like, where are these talking heads coming from? Where do you go if it's not Sheuder? Are you going back to Dylan Gabriel? Because we already seen this movie, and it's not that – even if you think Dylan Gabriel is garbage, the Browns let you know we don't think he's the starter because they're sticking with Sheuder, right? Like, if they really thought Dylan Gabriel's the starter, they'd have put Sheuder back on the bench. Are you going with Deshaun Watson next year? Like, what are you doing? Are you drafting a quarterback first?
That's it, right? Like, that's the point there. It's are they going to pick somebody up in free agency? Like, maybe. I don't know why you would if you've got Sheuder there, because you've got unlocked all the guys you can pick up on free agency. We kind of know the potential. With Sheuder, you have unlocked potential, which the Cleveland Browns really need to become a really good football team. And they're not going to be great next year either. Like, their roster is better. Their defense is great. And stuff. The one thing that everybody is saying when they talk about this is, well, the Browns could go draft Mendoza. The Browns could go draft Mendoza. It's like, well, Mendoza just came off beating Ohio State. Great. And Mendoza is good. I think Mendoza is, I think he's very impressive. I quite like him. But one, he doesn't fit what the Cleveland Browns actually need now. Like, why would you get a rookie in there? Like, when there's other things that you need to fix first. But most importantly, you can see what Sheuder Sanders has, and you just get that for a 5th round pick. See what Sheuder Sanders has, make everything better. And the next class has loads of quarterbacks coming out in it if Sheuder Sanders isn't the guy.
And you gave Sheuder for a full offseason after we found out that he has had 0 reps with the ones until he was named the starter. So when he came in for an injured Gabriel, that was the first time he ever threw a ball to Jerry Jeudy. That's crazy to me. Like, maybe they ran some stuff after practice, but he never even had a rep in practice with Jerry Jeudy. That is insane to me. Like, I almost feel like, why did you draft him? Because I feel like you set him up for failure from the jump by the way you handled him. It almost feels like, to me, Andrew Berry wanted him, Kevin Stefanski didn't, and there was this clash of, I'm not going to start him because you wanted him, and fuck that. Like, it's really weird.
Yeah, I also think currently the Browns don't actually have the pick to get Mendoza either. Like, that's,
and I also still think that Sheuder Sanders is a first-round talent, so that maybe I will over-defend him because I still believe he was a first-round quarterback.
Yeah, and I think Sheuder Sanders has played well enough in a difficult offense to go and actually get things done. Like, you could see that. So Joe Flacco looked bad in that Browns offense, but all of a sudden looks amazing in the Bengals, which means, okay, maybe the Browns offense just isn't that good. It wasn't Joe Flacco playing, like Joe Flacco wasn't playing well, but, you know, and Sheuder Sanders has come in and made it look good. The Browns don't really have the pick. They currently have the 5th overall pick. For me, they look like they could more go backwards into, like, more towards the 10th pick, because they're currently joint a 3-9 record with the Commanders, the Jets, the Cardinals.
Well, we're 3-8. Oh wait, no, 4-8. Sorry, 4-8. I meant
3-9. The Browns.
No, the Vikings. I raised my hand. I said, "Oh wait, we got 4-8.
We're 4-8. Sorry,
I raised my hand for a second. I was like, "Oh no, they're a little bit worse than us."
Yeah, and like the Falcons are 4-8 as well. Like, that's like the Falcons can actually win games. You know, like, but yeah, the Vikings are at 4-8 as well. Like, the Browns could actually move away. And currently, the New Orleans Saints, I don't think is a terrible place for Mendoza to go, because the Saints actually do have some semblance of a slightly decent team, and they're above them. So I don't get this. I don't understand it at all. And I think Sheuder Sanders is the starting quarterback next year. Talking about,
Maddie, why is it quick? Just quick. Why is it? And this is more rhetorical. You probably don't have an answer. We live in a society now where, yeah, it used to be the fans moved off on a quarterback too soon, but now even the talking heads, J.J. McCarthy, 6 games, Sheuder Sanders, like 3 games. It's like, what are we doing? I'm not saying these guys are going to work out, but we don't know.
Yeah, I think it's crazy. And yeah, I do think that the Titans defense is a team that they should be able to go show what he can do. The weather conditions might make that a bit difficult. A bit difficult to do. But let's save any questions about Cam Ward until next time. I feel like we've spoke about Cam Ward a lot on the show. But Jay, Cleveland Browns are 4.5-point favorites versus the Titans. Who have you got?
Give me Cleveland minus the 4.5. I think that they should go away with that game with more than 4.5 points, just because I feel like that defense is so talented. The running game for the Browns is really good. And I think Sheuder is just going to get better. But like I said, maybe I'm just a homer for Sheuder, but give me the Browns.
Yeah, Cleveland at 4.5 for me as well makes a lot of sense in that game. Jay, the Falcons are going up against the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 6.5-point favorites. I think this basically boils down to which Falcons defense are we seeing? Can they put Sam Darnold in a bit of a spin? Because the way that you seem to put Sam Darnold on a spin is if you can get pressure with the front 4, which the Falcons are sometimes able to do, and then have plenty of disguise behind him, then Sam Darnold doesn't read that disguise as quickly as other quarterbacks. So then the pressure makes him throw stupid passes and stuff like that. But the big question, Jay, is will the Seahawks defense just be able to shut down any Falcons production whatsoever?
Yeah, it makes you, well, I don't think they'll shut down all their production because I still Kirk will figure out a way to move the ball some, but I don't even think this game is going to be as close as the spread. I mean, it could be because it's the NFL and one score, but I feel like the Seahawks should just come out and dog walk the Falcons.
Yeah, I feel like that Seahawks defense is still getting not as much love as it deserves. For me, it's in the same category as Denver, Houston, Cleveland. Wow. Like for me, that Seahawks defense is still there. If you look at all the numbers, they're top 5 in every category. They're with the same, like they're in that crowd in the same thing, and they just make when they're on you, they're just better. Then they get to the quarterback. They get pressure every time. D-Law is having a great season as well. And then their coverage is solid. So I think the Seahawks put the Falcons in a bit of a bind here. Kirk Cousins has been moving the ball much better than people have been given credit for. I think he's had over 200 yards in both games that he's played, which over 200 yards is not crazy, but considering what people were saying about Kirk Cousins before, that is it's much better than what people give him credit for. They finally gave the ball to Bijan Robinson against the Jets. One of the other big things in here, Jay, because I know I was trying to say I don't understand how the Falcons actually lost that game. It's their special teams. They have the worst EPA per play on special teams in the NFL, or the fourth worst, sorry. The fourth worst EPA per play on special teams in the NFL. The Seattle Seahawks have the second best. The Jets had the third best. So we could see some special teams going around here. Jay, I imagine you're taking the Seahawks. I'm taking the Seahawks as well. Okay. Moving quickly off we're in week 14 now. There's some games that just don't really mean as much. Jay, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going up against the Indianapolis Colts, and this is a game that means a lot. The winner of this game goes to the top of the AFC South. The Colts are 1.5-point favorites. Jay, the Colts have lost, I think, 4 out of their last 5 or 6 games. Can the Colts halt the slide?
Yes. I think that what helps them, and it sounds stupid, is I think being on the road actually helps them sometimes if you look at their stats, not necessarily win-loss record, but their stats. They put up more yardage in their run game on the road than they do at home, which is weird to me. And if you can ride Jonathan Taylor, I think it makes your life a whole lot easier. Now, I'm starting to feel like this relationship with me and the Colts is turning toxic, so I'm hoping they can turn it around. Otherwise, I'm in a toxic relationship with both of these teams by the time the game's over.
Yeah, sorry, also, just to correct myself, the Colts have lost 2 in a row, but they've lost 4 in the last 3 games. They've lost 3 in the last 4.
That would have been impressive, losing 4 and 3. I'm just saying.
Yeah, 3 in the last 4 games as well. Jay, for me, I think the Colts have played some pretty good teams in that time, like the Texans. The Texans just defensively are incredible. We'll talk about them later. The Chiefs, they lost against Patrick Mahomes, just went crazy.
In overtime.
Yeah, they lost against the Chiefs in overtime where Patrick Mahomes just went crazy. I do think maybe this is a bit of an overcorrection, but I think the big question here is the Jacksonville Jaguars at the start of the season were getting 3 turnovers a game. Daniel Jones has had turnover problems. Will the Jacksonville defense be able to force Daniel Jones into turnovers?
Well, it always helps when you can get some turnovers, and when you got do we know how bad Sauce is right now?
Sauce is out, I think.
Okay. Like I said, though, they played without him. They're good without him. It does help. I mean, it helps when you have Sauce Gardner on the other side of Ward. But I think that defense is good enough to create turnovers and havoc. The question comes is, can Trevor Lawrence protect the ball, and can your receivers and running backs make sure you don't make stupid fumbles? Fumbles happen. If a guy comes flying in and his helmet hits the ball, there's nothing you can do. But when you got the ball out here and you're running and it gets knocked into your hands, that shit's on you. And that's the kind of stuff. That's a Daniel Jones problem. That's also a problem we've seen with running backs and wide receivers this year.
Yeah, I think Daniel Jones does have a problem if you can get pressure to him. Jones throw that many picks? Well, Daniel Jones has games where he throws a lot of picks, but overall he doesn't throw loads and loads of picks. It's just every now and again he'll have a weird
those fumbles.
Yeah, he weirdly he does fumble the ball a lot from the pocket though. Jay, on the other side of the ball, Jacoby Myers seems to be doing a lot for Trevor Lawrence. Do you think Jacoby Myers is going to continue to help Trevor Lawrence make that step up, having that reliable wide receiver that's in the same place?
Yeah, I mean, if he doesn't, then what are we doing with Trevor Lawrence? Because we're giving Trevor Lawrence every excuse in the world. And don't get me wrong, he did have problems with his receivers this year, not extending for balls, not wanting to get hit. Things like that. I think we've seen a lot of drops over the league this year too, which is just odd number. I think we've seen of drops this year. Yeah. Or maybe it's just the best teams are dropping the ball, so it seems more prevalent, or the teams that we expect to do well. And guys like Jefferson and Lamb aren't are dropping balls, and we're like, what the hell? You guys never drop balls. But I think that this game comes down to how well for the Jags, how well Trevor Lawrence can move the ball, execute the offense, and they have to. Both of these teams are best set to go behind their running game. Like, I think both of these teams should be trying to run the ball like a ton this game.
Yeah, they're two teams where everybody kind of talks about their quarterbacks, but actually their running games are the things that do them. And it's not necessarily because like the Jags have Travis Etienne and Bashal Tutin. It's because Liam Cohen has created a great running game. Whereas on the other side of the ball, the Colts legitimately have one of the best running backs in the league. So they've kind of gone away from the Colts have kind of gone away from him in these two losses, and I think they would be served quite well. Getting back to Jonathan Taylor, just a final point on Jacoby Myers there, Jay. Jacoby Myers has hauled in 86% of his targets, which is so much better than Brian Thomas Jr. was doing. He already has 2 touchdowns in the 4 games that he's played for the Jags. He's led the Jags in receiving in 3 of his 4 games and is second among AFC receivers in first down receptions since his arrival in Jacksonville. So this turnaround in Jacksonville's form, I do think, is by having a really reliable wide receiver like Jacoby Myers. And what that does when you have a reliable guy like that, it frees up, like Brian Thomas Jr. might come a bit looser, might be able to get those catches in, might not have as much double coverage and stuff like that as well. So they have got better since Jacoby Myers was here. Jay, the Colts are 1.5-point favorites. Who have you got in this one?
Yeah, I'm sticking with the Colts. Give me the Colts minus the 1.5. This will be the time, though, that Trevor Lawrence comes in, and then he'll make me want to get back into a toxic relationship with him.
I personally wouldn't bet this game. It's a divisional game. The Colts struggle when they go to Jacksonville a lot of the time. AI took the Colts as ChatGPT took the Colts as a best bet, but they also took the Cowboys as a best bet. So we'll see what they say. We'll see what happens there. But I'm taking the Colts overall. I think the correction that we've got between the Colts slide against some really good defenses and the Jacksonville playing a bit better against some questionable defenses, I think that's what's made the line so close. And actually, the Colts are just better than the Jags. Jay, your Minnesota Vikings go up against the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are 1.5-point favorites. That is after the line started out with the Vikings as 1.5-point favorites in this one. Jay, is JJ McCarthy playing in this game? Because I saw he had a clubbed hand when I last saw him in training, but that was just to stabilize the fracture, as far as I know. And Jay, if he is playing, do you think he has the ability to move the ball against a really weak Commanders defense?
Hold on, he was playing as of last night, so I'm checking that now.
I'm pretty sure he's playing. Let's go as he is playing.
Let's go as he is playing. Well, that does make a difference in the pick, though. But I mean, the Commanders are bad, so for defensively. So you hope this is kind of a game where you see JJ calm down, the game maybe slow down for him a little bit. I think they need to try to run the ball a ton against them, make it easier on JJ. I do think this is a game that the Vikings should win, but it doesn't mean they will, because I don't know what we're going to get out of the quarterback.
For me, JJ is playing. He's cleared concussion protocol. So JJ McCarthy is playing in this one, as far as I can see. with that, JJ McCarthy has thrown the ball okay. Like 6 games into his NFL career, when you were talking about drops, Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson have probably been the 2 biggest drop-offs. CeeDee Lamb at the start of the season, CeeDee Lamb sort of switched in the past couple of games. Brian Thomas Jr. as well, obviously. But Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson are 2 of the biggest proponents of players that should not be dropping footballs. JJ McCarthy's completion percentage could go up 10% if they caught their catches so far this season. And it's because I've seen some people now saying whenever, you get people who defend JJ McCarthy still, like me and you, and you see some people saying in response to that, well, he doesn't know how to throw with touch. He puts too much muscle on the ball. Justin Jefferson, if that's the problem, you should be standing in front of a jugs machine and doing absolutely nothing else, because Justin Jefferson is an elite wide receiver. Like, it's not a problem if he can't catch a fast ball. That isn't what's happening. He's a bit off. The Vikings' whole organization is a bit off this year. It's not gone the way that everybody wanted it to go. And, that can affect players' concentration. Morale is a problem. So in this game, if Jordan Addison and Justin Jefferson catch their passes, the Vikings will move the ball on this Commanders team. The Vikings will move the ball a lot. So much that I'm wondering whether to put JJ McCarthy in my fantasy team this week over Caleb Williams, considering Caleb Williams is going up against the Packers.
I saw a stat that goes along with what you were saying. So in the last 5 years, guess who's thrown the ball over 50 miles an hour more than any other quarterback in the NFL?
Patrick Mahomes.
Absolutely. All right. Exactly. I'm just saying, you can learn touch. I'm not saying that he's Patrick Mahomes. I'm just saying they got to stop with – I agree. He needs to learn how to throw with touch. But that doesn't mean he can't, right? And it doesn't mean that throwing the ball hard is a negative. I mean, Brett Favre used to break fingers, huh?
Yeah. It's not the reason for the drops. Like, it can be the reason for his poor ability with touch can be the reason that he's overthrowing people because he can't drop it into a space. That's what it is, but it's not a drops problem. Like, the fact that the Vikings wide receivers are dropping balls is not JJ McCarthy's fault. That doesn't mean he's faultless in the problems that they have, but that isn't his fault.
Right, because even when Brett Favre was snapping fingers, Donald Driver was still catching the ball.
And the Vikings offense, like, I know this is a real simplification of offense, and every team's offense functions like this. But the Vikings, more than most, and all like kind of Sean McVay's game, it's about staying in front of the sticks. Like, you have to keep the momentum going in like the Vikings. When you watch them play good offense, it's like a snowball running down a hill. Like, it gathers momentum as they go through. They're constantly making these gains on you, and then all of a sudden it's a big one over the top. That's what the Vikings offense is, and that's what it was all last season with Sam Darnold. It's those big plays come after. So if you're going to drop the ball, that's going to put you behind where you should have been, and then that really, it's like Max Brosma didn't have a good game, didn't have a good debut. Like, a lot of that was also his fault. But the rot starts when Jordan Addison drops a ball that would have gone for a first down. Like he would have been a lot less tense in that game, trying less hard if his receiver caught the ball and made the play that he should have made. Like, they've got to make those plays. So I think the Vikings can make those plays. I think they can move the ball down the field. JJ McCarthy has shown he can move the ball down the field in big moments. And Jay, on the other side of the Vikings here, God, I'm doing the thing again where I'm really overhyping the Vikings again. But has an excellent defensive performance from the Vikings been overlooked? I thought the Vikings were amazing defensively against the Seattle Seahawks. Jackson Smith-Njigba didn't catch the ball until the third quarter.
Yeah, but you can't blame it for getting overlooked, because at this point you're 4 wins into a season. You got a rookie quarterback. And when you're losing, like with the Browns, does it really matter how good your defense is?
Yeah, but in games like this where it's
no, I mean overall, and I think that's why they get looked. Like, nobody gives a shit that you have a great defense because you suck as a team. Like, you know what I mean? And so, yes, I think they do get overlooked, but I think rightly they get overlooked because when you suck as a team, I don't care how good your defense is in the grand scheme, not game to game, but in the grand scheme of the NFL season.
Do you think the Vikings' problems are anything other than wide receiver drops and quarterback play? Do you think the Vikings have any other problems than that? Because I don't know, they still look like a great team on paper.
Yeah, I think it was injuries this year too, on top of a rookie quarterback, on top of, like, I think the injury bug hit them in the worst season it could hit them too, because you're trying to develop a young quarterback, and you know what I mean? And also, I don't know why the drop started, but it seems like it's becoming an ongoing thing, which I don't think carries over season to season. I think they're just getting hit by the perfect storm of like situations all building into making it a worse situation.
Yeah. Jay, the spread has switched sides since we first got it on Thursday. It's split from 1.5 to the Vikings to 1.5 to the Commanders. I believe it happened at the time where Jaden Daniels was confirmed to be playing in the game.
Yeah, it's the Jaden Daniels effect.
Yeah, what does Jaden Daniels' return do for this game for you?
Well, it changes life for the Commanders, right? And Mariota didn't play awful, but like I said, those deep passes were bad, and Jaden Daniels hits at least half of those, right? Which changes the game. But Jaden Daniels is just on a whole nother level than Marcus Mariota, so it doesn't surprise me that it's a 3-point swing just off of Jaden Daniels.
Yeah, I feel like Marcus Mariota as well is the kind of quarterback that the Vikings absolutely tee off on, whereas Jaden Daniels is a bit more of a struggle. Marcus Mariota's mobility isn't terrible. He just doesn't ever use it unless it's kind of like 3rd and 1 and 4th and 1, whereas Jaden Daniels will be happy to go to that mobility whilst also still throwing the ball. Like, that's the key to when you're going up against the defense like the Vikings, because the Vikings use so much disguised blitz coverage and those kind of things. So that if you can buy yourself some extra time to diagnose the play and then make the play, then that's huge. Do you think Jaden Daniels gets the Commanders the win, Jay? Who have you got in this one? The Commanders are 1.5 point favorites.
I'm taking whoever you got because I refuse to pick this game.
Used to pick this game. Jay, I'm going for the Vikings again because I think they move the ball on a weak Commanders team.
I don't know what to do. Like, this is one of those games I'd never bet. My homerness in me, I think, tells me Minnesota. Part of me tells me they suck and just take the Commanders. So I'm like, I'm just riding with Matty. Whatever Matty does, I'm gonna just copycat off of him. I did the full breakdown, and let me see. Where'd it go? ChatGPT has the Vikings winning at +1.5.
Okay. Sounds good. Jay, the Buffalo Bills are going up against the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know where to go with this one. The Bills are 6-point favorites. Jay, can the Buffalo Bills defense slow down Joe Burrow? Joe Burrow came back and has looked great.
Yeah, they can, and I still think that game was more of a blip than what we're going to see moving forward from Cincinnati. I just thought there was going to be a big Joe Burrow effect on the first game. I don't think we're going to see Joe Burrow and Cincinnati balling out like that. I don't think we see Cincinnati's defense playing the same way they did, but I think I think the Bills can do enough to contain them. I don't think you'll stop them, but I think they can do enough to contain them.
Yeah, I mean, the Bills are still bottom. No, is that? Oh, right. Okay. The Bills are top 10 in the NFL in passing defense, but they're bottom 10 in the NFL, bottom 5 in the NFL, I think. Hang on. Sorry. In passing defense, they're top 10 in the NFL on yards per completion, and for running defense, they're bottom 2 in the NFL in yards per carry as well. So they really have a problem with the run game, but they're good enough against the pass game as well. This Bills defense. obviously against the Bengals, you want to be much better against the pass defense because that's what the Bengals do really well. The Joe Burrow connection to T. Higgins, the Joe Burrow connection to Jamar Chase is really big in this game. But what shouldn't be overlooked is Chase Brown's performance in recent games for the Bengals as well. The Bengals have looked really good with Chase Brown in there. Chase Brown has really picked up on his performance since the beginning part of the season. And the main part here is Chase Brown doesn't only pick up in kind of like running game handoffs. He also has those extensions of the run games, those screen passes, those short passes that are basically handoffs, but just in a bit of a different area. So I think that could cause the Bills a lot of problem, but they're stronger in the defense where you need to be strong against the Bengals. So I don't expect the Bills defense to look as bad as it had looked as well. Jay, are the Bills kind of in danger of repeating the same thing that they've always done with Josh Allen having to become Superman and then unfortunately will throw a big game interception? Those panic plays where he throws interceptions are kind of creeping into the games a little bit more so far. What do you think on that for the Buffalo Bills?
Well, I think that's how they play football. Like, it's all on Josh Allen all the time, and it's part of the problem in Buffalo is that they expect too much out of one guy. And it does happen at times, but I think especially in the last couple of years, Allen still gets beat up for, he plays Superman football and then makes a horrible play. Well, yeah, because he's playing Superman football 90% of the time. So what about the 80% of the time he's doing great, and then, yes, something happens, but it's because you put him in such a fuck situation that he has to be the one generating the offense, especially in close games. And I just don't understand. Like we've talked about before, they forget that James Cook can actually run the ball. Yeah. That's a problem. I think that's how they play. And I think Josh Allen gets beat up because if you play that type of football and whenever you make a mistake, it's magnified. But they don't talk about all the times he plays that same kind of football mistake-free.
Yeah, and that's the key for me for the Bills is not making Josh Allen play Superman football, because early in his career, Josh Allen would play Superman football when he didn't necessarily need to play Superman football. And that's where the mistakes would happen. But now he's having to do it because of the play calls, whereas now they have, I don't know who Superman's sidekick is. Does Superman have a sidekick? Would be easier if he was Batman. But anyway, they have a sidekick for him. They've got James Cook there for him to hand the ball off to, and James Cook is having great plays. And the Cincinnati Bengals run defense is terrible. It's only just better in yards per carry than the Bengals. They're the fourth worst in the NFL, whereas the Bills are the second worst in the NFL at run defense. But the other side of that is the Bengals also can't defend the pass either. So like they're terrible on both sides of the ball. And I agree with you, that blip against the Baltimore Ravens, I think that could be more to do with the Ravens as well. The Ravens offense is just stumbles all the way through. We'll talk about them later. So Jay, who have you got in this one? I'm still struggling to decide at 6-point favorite for the Bills here.
I'm going with the home team. Give me the Bills minus the 6.5.
Bills at home in the snow. Hopefully they'll run behind James Cook. Yeah, give me the Bills. Give me the Bills at that one. All right. Jay, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going up against the New Orleans Saints. The Bucs are 8.5-point favorites. The Buccaneers have loads of injured players seemingly coming back. I think Chris Godwin's back now. Mike Evans is back. Bucky Irvin's back, and Bucky Irvin's look pretty decent as well. How important are they, and can the Saints really keep this game close? Because the Saints have had some good performances. It's just they don't have that final thing to get them over the line.
No, they can't. I don't think this game will even be close. I think this game will be Tampa Bay blowing them out. I'm taking Tampa minus the 8.5. I don't think there's a chance that New Orleans wins this game or even keeps it close, especially with the Buccaneers getting healthy. Even if they weren't getting healthy, I probably would have still taken the Bucs, but with the Bucs getting healthy and the fact that I feel like the Bucs have something to prove because they feel disrespected by the league.
Yeah, I think with the Bucs, with those injured players returning, Baker Mayfield another week off his injury as well, I think they'll be too good for the Saints. I do think the Saints play well, and like even when the Bucks had on their way to the Super Bowl and Tom Brady was there as well, and they were even better than they currently are. The Saints played them close, and the Saints beat them in that season as well when the Saints weren't really as good. I mean, they did have Derek Carr under center there rather than Tyler Shough, so maybe that's where we're at with the Saints. I think that Kellen Moore's doing a good job, but I'm taking the Bucks in this one as well at 8.5-point favorites. Let's move on to the Baltimore Ravens, who are 6-point favorites against the Pittsburgh Steelers in the AFC North showdown. There's a big feeling that these two games between the Ravens and the Steelers will decide who goes to the playoffs out of these two. Jay, is the Baltimore defense's resurgence for real after watching them last week against the Bengals?
No, and then that's a wild, and you're not the only one I heard say this, right? But it's like resurgent. I just watched the Bengals come out and do whatever they wanted in that game. I have no faith in their defense this year. I don't love the scheme that they run on the defense either with the players they have. I'm not a big fan of Baltimore in this game, but oddly, my head is telling me it's the Steelers. My gut's telling me it's the Ravens. So I'm still really torn on this game.
Yeah, with that Ravens resurgence that everybody was talking about, like who backed the Ravens at the start of the season, they've been basically saying like, oh, the defense was horrible to start the season, but the defense has really got it together and the offense will start to click. Well, this is what happened. The Ravens gave up 17 points. Like to start off the season, they gave up 41 points against the Bills, and then they gave up 17 points, but that's the Browns. They gave up 38 points against the Lions, 37 against the Chiefs, and 44 against the Texans, before then only giving up 17 to the Rams. So here is where the resurgence kind of starts. That game against the Rams, they give up 16 against the Bears, 6 against the Dolphins, 19 against the Vikings, 16 against the Browns, and then 10 against the Jets before giving up 32 against the Bengals. Well, Jay, their resurgence was the Dolphins, the Vikings, the Browns, and the Jets. If you don't have a defensive resurgence against those teams currently, then your defense is terrible. That's what happened. There was no defensive resurgence. They can't play defense. They played shit offensive teams. That is what happened to the Baltimore Ravens. They get no pressure. They can't cover for longer than 3 seconds as well. The Baltimore Ravens didn't have that resurgence here. But Jay, on the other side of the ball, the Steelers, their defense hasn't been great, but also their offense has got nothing done. Their offense has been really stuttering. How can the Steelers get their offense going in this game? What plays should they be running? Who should they be targeting? What have they got to do?
Well, that's the thing. If you can't get your offense running against this defense, then I think you're already in trouble.
Yeah.
I think, but you got to run the ball. Like, you have to run the ball if you're Pittsburgh. That's how your team was built. Run the ball, play defense, even though you're not playing the greatest defense. And I feel like you got to figure out how to get DK Metcalf more involved in this offense. Like, you paid him all this money to come in. You did something you never do. You go out and you trade for a guy, you pay him a ton of money, and then you don't get him involved in the fucking game plan.
Yeah, and then to start the season, they were taking those shots down the field to DK Metcalf, and they were scoring loads of touchdowns. They were playing really well, and then they've gone away from that. They become the Steelers. They become more risk averse as they go through a season. Like they just become completely risk averse. For me, it's take risks. It's because most importantly, once you stretch out the field by keep the Ravens honest, because the Ravens cornerback room isn't great, and that secondary will really struggle. With Kyle Hamilton's moved into like the front seven a bit more. So you stretch the defense, which gives Jaylen Warren more space underneath, and Jaylen Warren's actually been their best offensive player this season. So if you can get Jaylen Warren some more space receiving underneath, then I think that's it. But they have to go out and try and stretch the field to start this game. And then Jay, same question for the Ravens. How did they kickstart their poor offense?
You just ride Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson's legs, get that running game going, and that'll open up the passing game for you. So I think I think both teams, again, would be best served to try to get behind their running game.
Yeah, I agree with that. Jay, the Ravens are 6-point favorites in this game. Who you got?
I'm deciding right now. Give me the Ravens -6.
Okay, Jay, I'm taking the Steelers in this one. I basically said at the start, whoever is the underdog, I'm going to be taking them in this game because I don't trust either of the teams. If you're giving me 6 points as the underdog, then I'm pretty happy to take that. But I don't trust either of them either. Jay, we're going to finish off the first part of the show before we go to
with our best bets.
With the New York Jets and the Miami Dolphins. They're weirdly a best bet that we disagree on. So I best bet the Miami Dolphins at 2.5 points. Jay's best bet the New York Jets. And it's a game that neither of us really want to talk about because they're both just two shit football teams who have no consequences whatsoever. But the game that this comes down to, Jay, for me, is whose run game comes out on top. Surely that's the question here because the Jets have a bit of a run game resurgence starting here. Breece Hall is getting moving and Devon Achane has been incredible. And he could genuinely be saving Mike McDaniel's potential offensive coordinator jobs.
I think the game comes down to Tyrod Taylor for the Jets, and I think that's who takes him over the top.
All right, okay. Why? Why do you think Tyrod Taylor?
Because that's been the Jets' Achilles heel is their passing game. They've been good at the running game. You get even a fucking serviceable quarterback in there, and the Jets are a better team. I mean, you were playing with a guy who can't even throw the fucking ball for most of the year. I think Tyrod Taylor becomes the adult in the room who steadies the ship. That's why we've seen the running game the last couple of weeks be even better, too, because now you actually have to worry about a quarterback who can somewhat throw the ball, which I think makes them even more of a threat to Miami, and that's why I took the Jets at the 2.5.
Yeah, I can, yes, I can see that as a reason for why. I just think Miami is actually, with that run game and with their defense, they are just a better team. Tua as well. Tua has been more accurate in the past couple of games since he had that 4 interception game, and everybody was talking about benching him. He's been more accurate since then, and they have wrinkles off this run game now. It's not just the same run game that they've got going on. They've had wrinkles off it. And Jay, Darren Waller was back in the game last week, and Darren Waller should have had a couple of touchdowns in that game as well. It's just some good defensive play. Darren Waller was a touchdown machine at the start of the season as well, and gave Tua a good option. So I think that the Dolphins will win this one as well. But a mad one for us to both be disagreeing on, and it'll be but it's not a mad one for us to disagree on as a best bet. It's just who wants to talk about the Dolphins and the Jets at this point in the season, apart from what are they going to do at quarterback? How do you rebuild both of these teams? Don't actually care about the games that they play currently. So we'll finish that one there, and that'll round out the first part of the show. Guys, it's getting later into the year. The nights are getting darker, and to power through those dark nights and to keep us awake rather than going to sleep earlier, we need you to help us out with maybe buying us a cup of coffee.
Me and Jay set up the Yankee and the Brit nearly 5 years ago, and in that time we've gone up to about 7 shows a week. And with the help of our loyal community, we've been able to keep growing. But we want to grow even more, and that's why just giving $5 or £5 could really help us out in our Buy Me a Coffee fund. And all you have to do is hit the Buy Me a Coffee link in our YouTube descriptions. That'll be on every single video. You can give £5, $5, you can give it once, you can give it every month. And what that does is it allows us to grow and even buy ourselves a coffee every once in a while.
All right, guys, you can buy us a coffee at any point during the show by going to the QR code that is at the top of the screen or hitting the link below for us. That would be super, super helpful. Thank you so much for any support that you can. All right, moving into the late window. We're half an hour of the show left before kickoff starts in the early window. If you've missed any of our betting spreads and would like to know, then you can just rewind this video and go look at what we've been saying. But Jay, we're going to start off the late window with the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are 7.5 point favorites. Jay, I kind of said at the start of the season, that I really trust the Broncos. I'm going to back them in plenty of games. And then I kept on getting burnt when they were more of a touchdown favorite. And then I've said I'm never going to bet the Broncos when they're more of a touchdown favorite again. They're 7.5 point favorites in this one. Do you trust the Denver Broncos to win by more than a touchdown?
No, but I'm still going to take them because they like to play close games, but the Raiders are just ass. So I feel like you just take the Broncos, grit your teeth, and hope they score more than 7.5 to win this game.
Yeah, I don't really trust them in these games at all, with the one score games and stuff. But the Raiders offense is so bad, and I just think it's going to be open day for the Denver Broncos defensive line, right? Like they're really going to just hammer Geno Smith into the ground.
Yeah, it's a long day for the Raiders. It's just I don't have faith in Denver to pull away and win a game. I have faith that Denver wins the game. I don't have faith that Denver knows how to pull away, but yes, the Raiders are so bad that I'm going to take the 7.5.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that one. I'm taking the Broncos in this one as well, Jay, we move on to the Arizona Cardinals going up against the Los Angeles Rams. The Rams are 9.5 point favorites in this one. Again, a game where it's just, it's one of those games for the Rams where it's not really it's a no-win game for them like they had last week. You're expected to win, go out and win the game. And if you don't win, what the hell is going on? Jay, after losing to the Carolina Panthers last week, do you think the Rams will come back and win this game? And is 9.5 points a bit rich against a feisty Cardinals team?
Yeah, and we're at this point now, too, where it looks like Jacoby Brissett may be their starting quarterback next year, too. But since Jacoby Brissett's been playing, he's got some of the best stats in the NFL as a quarterback. Jacoby Brissett's been playing well. It's very impressive. He seems to even be playing better with Harrison out than when he was back, and now Harrison's back, giving them even more weapons. I think it's a closer game than people think. I still think the Rams win, but I'm taking the Cardinals minus the 9.5 or plus. I'm taking the plus on the 9.5. Yes.
Yeah, with the Cardinals, Jacoby Brissett is coming in as like one of the top EPA per players in one of the top EPA players in the NFL, which is absolutely insane to me. That they're like incredibly. When they brought Jacoby Brissett in, we thought, it'll be no time until we see Kyler Murray again. Jacoby Brissett isn't going to make those plays, but he's coming in and has been incredibly efficient with the Cardinals offense that has weapons, and it is, just offload it to Trey McBride, hit Trey McBride. He likes Wilson. He broke the record. He broke Jameis Winston's record of, was it the most completions in a game? Like he's got that ability, Jacoby Brissett, to cause problems. But for me, the Rams defense is so strong and is a really great defense, and they shat the bed against the Panthers. I think they're going to come back angry. I think they're going to run the ball down the Cardinals' throat, and then I think they're going to get their big plays to the Rams again. It's a divisional game. It's at home, which for the Rams doesn't usually matter. It matters more to the Rams than it does to the Chargers, but like being at home is a big deal. They're on the road. What I meant was they don't have to go as far on the road as they had to go to when they were going to Carolina. They're just going over to Arizona. It's a closer road game for them. Jay, give me the Rams in this one. I trust them to bounce back. The reason we've kind of bounced through those games is the next 3 games are really important. So stay with us for those. The Green Bay Packers go up against the Chicago Bears in our last game in the late window. The Packers are 6.5 point favorites. Jay, this feels like it could be for the NFC North by the end of the season. Do the huge improvements in Caleb Williams' escapability give the Bears what they need against the Packers? Micah Parsons has been getting loads more pressures, but Caleb Williams has gone up in a stat that's called it's like a scramble. Sorry, it's like a sacks per scramble stat, right? So every quarterback in the NFL is minus in this, apart from Josh Allen last season. Caleb Williams, it's an EPA stat. So Caleb Williams was minus 108 in this stat last year, which was worst in the NFL. He's now top 5, which is minus 17. He now is at minus 17, which makes him top 5 in the NFL as well. And that is his scramble per sack. So he's really great at that escapability and getting rid of the ball, which is key to this Bears offense, because this Bears offense is all about staying in front of the sticks, getting on your run game. And if Caleb Williams can start hitting that completion, he undoubtedly needs to get his completion percentage up. But that is the big difference in why the Bears are winning games this season, is Caleb Williams being better at escapability. Do you think that level of Caleb Williams gives them what the Bears need to beat this Packers defense?
I will be cheering for the Bears, but I am taking the Packers in this game minus the 6.5. So I hope everything you said comes to fruition and the Packers have to eat shit. I just still think that when it comes to Green Bay and Chicago, Green Bay still got the edge. Jordan Love's been playing great. So as long as he keeps completing those passes off his back foot, it's almost impossible to defend. I love the Packers running game. I think Josh Jacobs is just one of the things that really set this Packers offense off. I think he's proven that they actually made the right decision when we all questioned it with Aaron Jones. Was it a lateral move? I don't think it was anymore. I think that Jacobs is the key to this game, but the way Jordan Love's been playing is like out of this world, throwing out the back foot. And it's hard to cover all those number 2 receivers that are running around on the field.
Yeah, I agree with that. With Jordan Love, it's always the question of which Jordan Love are we going to see. Like, he's quite, when he's playing well, he's incredible. And this Toyota-thon thing, like, when they start to hit the end of November, December, he seems to play much better football in that area. So it's all about which Jordan Love we see, right? And I remember thinking at the start of the season, like, the Lions probably have a better roster than the Packers. The Bears, I don't know. I like what their team building was. And them getting Ben Johnson felt important. And the Vikings, better roster, probably, like player for player, than the Packers. But the big question was, Jordan Love had the most upside in any of the quarterback rooms. So do we get that upside of Jordan Love? And look, I guess we'll see in this game. Jay, that Bears run game against that came out against, the Bears run game in the last game against the Eagles, and the Eagles are a traditionally great run defending team. That run game that they had going on, I would argue, is better than the Packers run game. The Packers have a top 10 run game defense. Do you think the Bears can still run the ball to that same efficiency that they had last week in this game?
Yeah, well, the problem comes into, like, they do have a good run game, but the Packers did give up some of their run game stopping ability to go get Micah, which, good for you to do what you need to do. But it does hurt a little bit in the run game. But I do think they'll slow them down. I don't think that the Bears are going to be able to run the ball, control the game that way. I think they are going to force Caleb Williams to make some plays to win this game.
Yeah, and I personally think Caleb Williams has been making those plays to win the game. Caleb Williams has not been consistent over the games, but when it's a play to win the game, like that pass to Cole Kmet last week, that's the thing that iced the game. That was a stunning play. He escapes the pocket with touch into Cole Kmet over the top. Really great play. So I think Caleb Williams is doing that. Jay, I'm taking the Bears in this one as a 6.5 point dog. Again, I think it's largely down to the fact that these teams, I think, are both so close. So if you're giving me 6.5 points, I'll take the 6.5 points from you. Jay, on to Sunday Night Football, another huge game, because this is a must-win game for the Kansas City Chiefs. I know this game doesn't technically mean they're out of playoff contention, but realistically, if the Kansas City Chiefs lose this game, they are out of playoff contention. The Kansas City Chiefs are 3.5 point favorites against the Houston Texans. Jay, with the Chiefs missing both of their starting tackles, is the Texans' defensive line just going to be completely too much for them?
It's going to be a fucking long day, right? But we have seen it throughout history that Kansas City somehow takes a guard, moves him out to tackle, and then he's the next tackle in the NFL. So that's a weird thing that we've seen. Does history repeat itself? I don't know. But this is that I don't care what anybody says. It's a must win. I think the Chiefs are in danger of not even making the playoffs right now. So if you don't win this game, I think your hopes of the playoffs are over. And I start to think you start to see some of the wheels fall off because players start to get anxious, especially ones that are used to being in the postseason and they're going to miss the postseason. I think you see a collapse at the end of the year if they don't win this game. But with that said, I think these are the type of games Patrick Mahomes, Andy Reid, and Travis Kelce come out and figure out how to win.
Yeah, I think we all get a bit like, I think Kansas City with their back up against the wall is always going to cause everybody a problem, right? Patrick Mahomes on the run, he's been one of the better scrambling quarterbacks in the NFL this year. He, in that stat I was just talking about in like scrambles per sack, I think he's top 2. It's like between him and Josh Allen, because Josh Allen has such a freaky, like when he scrambles, he just scores touchdowns like every single time. So his EPA per play is obviously mental. So I think Mahomes is second in that stat that I was talking about before. So that is obviously huge when you're coming up against a Texans defensive line that is really great and going up against a team that's missing both of their tackles. Now, in terms of their missing both of their tackles, it's Jawan Taylor is doubtful. Josh Simmons is out on IR. He's done for the season. Jawan Taylor is doubtful for the game. So they're going to Jalen Moore. Jalen Moore is the guard that they've been pushing out to left tackle. Jalen Moore is currently their starting left tackle with Josh Simmons out, but he's also their second right tackle and their second right guard. Trey Smith, also doubtful as well. So I'm not 100% sure where they're going to be playing Jalen Morris in this game or who's going to fill in in this game as well. They'll probably have Jalen Moore. Sorry, they'll have Jalen Moore starting at left tackle, and then they're looking at starting CJ Hansen, who's their fourth string right guard, because they need Wenyon Morris to move out to right tackle as well. Like, they're really struggling for players on that offensive line. It's all their multi-cover depth players that are having to go into areas. And I think the Houston Texans are a team that you do not want to do that against. The Houston Texans are an amazing defense at getting to the quarterback, but Patrick Mahomes is Patrick Mahomes. Jay, the big thing here is the Buffalo Bills, to beat the Kansas City Chiefs, they went man-to-man in this game because the Chiefs have the ability to dial you up. The Texans don't really go man-to-man. They play mostly in zone. Do you think the Texans will switch what they do to go up against Kansas City?
No, because I don't think they have the right fucking players to try to go man-to-man all game with them. Will you sprinkle more in, throw some more blitzes, maybe because of a weak line? I think the Texans just stick with their game plan and try to get pressure with the front four, because if you get pressure with the front four really quick enough, doesn't really matter what you're playing on the back end. And if you get enough pressure, then you get quarterbacks to get off their spot, make mistakes, and create. That's how you create turnovers, because when you're playing zone, the corners are looking back at the quarterback, which makes it easier for those turnover plays. I don't think they switch up what they do. I think they do what they do really well, and they're one of those teams that they're like, yep, you know what we're going to do, and you still have to come out and figure out how to beat us. Yeah,
I really do think that the Texans are going to get plenty of pressure with 4 here against a really banged up offensive line. This kind of takes me back to the Super Bowl, the Brady versus Mahomes, the first Super Bowl that when we had this show, so it must have been 5 years ago, where the Chiefs' offensive line had just completely disintegrated and the Bucs just wailed on Mahomes that entire game. But Jay, for you, Patrick Mahomes back against the wall. It's basically playoff games from now until the Super Bowl. Do you think Patrick Mahomes is going to come up with some playoff magic in this game and carry the Chiefs to a win? And do you think it'll be by more than 3.5 points?
Well, that's it. We're taking – I already have the notion that we're going the opposite way with each other on this game. Yes, I think Patrick Mahomes comes up with enough magic to figure out how to win this game. I think Andy Reid figures out how to scheme enough to get Patrick some time to get the ball out of his hands. I think it's a lot of short passes to really fast, athletic guys. I think you do a lot of screens, different things, quick releases on slants. I'm taking the Kansas City Chiefs minus the 3.5 to keep their playoff hopes alive.
Yeah, I'm going for the Texans in this one. I don't think you'd be surprised after my analysis. But I think with the Texans defense, after what it did to the Colts and after what it's done to multiple good teams throughout the season, the Texans defense is one of those defenses that has you questioning your offense and whether you're getting offense right at all. And if you're putting that up against a weak and banged up O-line, then give me the Texans in this one. I'm actually pretty excited for having the Texans on my fantasy team this year. They're projected to only get 5 points out of this game. I'd be surprised if they get less than 8 in it this week. Jay, Monday Night Football on our final game before we go to fantasy players to watch. The Los Angeles Chargers are going up against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are 2.5-point favorites. Joe, we've already mentioned it, but the Eagles had a terrible running game defense against the Chicago Bears last week. Do you think that was simply a blip? That's a new fold onto what the Eagles have been struggling with this year, because they've never had a problem with the run game.
No, it's not a blip from last week, because we haven't seen this running game be anything we thought it was going to be.
Run defense, sorry. Run
defense. I misheard you then. I misheard you.
Yeah.
I was going to say, because I was like, I ain't seen Saquon go off yet, but the run defense struggles for the Eagles. I think it's a lot to do with their offensive struggles, because now your defense is on the field too much. Guys are tired. I think this is what we're seeing, though, is that the Eagles' offense isn't doing anything we've expected. They don't move the ball like we expected. And we watched the Eagles 2 years straight control the NFL by controlling the time of possession, running the ball, and then beating you up on defense. And that's not what we're seeing. I think the defense is overworked with the Eagles, and that's the problem. And I'm not sure that changes anytime this season.
I agree with you. I think we've heard a lot at the beginning of the season about like the amount of weight that Jordan Davis has lost so that he can play more downs during a game, and he's got loads fitter, and that Jordan Davis has looked amazing. It's been the Jordan Davis he's looked good since coming into the league, but it's the guy that we were expecting when he was drafted 3 years ago now, since he's come in. But the issue is, if you're going to keep being on the field, there's only so far that new fitness can take you. Like, because the offense is spending less and less time on the field. They're actually getting worse throughout the season is the main thing. So if Jordan Davis was fit enough at the start of the season to do it, the Eagles are currently not able to do it, and Jordan Davis is their main run stuffer. Like, he is the reason why their run defense is so good, and guys like Zach Bourne as well play off that. But Jordan Davis is the main linchpin in the middle for the Eagles on that run game. So, yeah, I do think it comes down to offense. I don't think it's going to look as bad as it did against the Bears. I think the Bears just really diced them up with some great play calling from Ben Johnson and some great running from Kyle Monangai as well. But Jay, Amarian Hampton seems to be coming back for the Chargers. Kamari Vidal has looked great since taking over that role as well. And Jay, the Chargers want to run the ball more than anyone in the league, I think. I think they're the team that wants to live behind that run game with with Jim Harbaugh as well. So I think that could be a real problem. On the other side of the ball for the Chargers here, their pass protection has been terrible. But Jay, does that even matter? Are they going to live behind that run game, or do you think the Eagles can really make big plays on that pass protection here, and the Chargers won't be able to just run on them?
Well, and I think that's the thing with the Chargers is I think that the Eagles can kind of sell out for the run in this game and not have that much worry, because, again, I've been beating him up for 2 years now, but I haven't watched Justin Herbert go, watch me, I'm going to carry this team to a Super Bowl. I haven't seen this. I think that they go, but again, it's Jim Harbaugh, so you go as the run game goes.
Yeah,
I think this is actually going to be a decent little battle between these teams. I think part of what's going on with the Eagles, I'm not sure gets better unless that they figure out how to get that offense going. But in this game, I think it's going to be a low-scoring game anyway, and I have more faith in the Eagles than I do the Chargers in this game. So give me the Eagles minus the 2.5.
Yeah, I think in this game, I think are the Eagles slipping to the low that they had in 2023? Is that what's happening to the Eagles?
So.
I just think yes. I don't know why. Obviously, I'm obviously wishing for it to happen. So like take my analysis on this, everybody, with a pinch of salt. As a good historian, I acknowledge all my biases. I do want this to happen, but just like it just looks like it's getting slowly worse. Like with what happened last season is it started off bad and got better towards the playoffs, whereas this is getting slowly worse, just like it did in 2023. Now, do I think they have enough to kind of get past the Commanders? Yeah, like so. I don't think the Cowboys will win this division. I think the Eagles will still make the playoffs. It's just when they play good football teams, they're going to struggle, and we've seen that from the Eagles in the past couple of weeks. I think the run game is going to be a problem for them. I wonder if with Amari and Hampton back in and teams really starting to sell out for the run now, I wonder if we see same levels of production from like Quentin Johnson on the outside again that we got earlier on in the season. I wonder if we start to see that potential fantasy player to watch, Quentin Johnson here as well. But for me, Jay, it was actually one of my best bets of the week. Chargers plus 2.5. Give me the dog here with the Chargers getting their best, with them getting their best running back room back in, and they're able to kind of get behind them here. And after mentioning fantasy players to watch, Jay, that is the final segment, 8 minutes before kickoff. So, Jay, who should people be putting in their team that they might be having questions about?
Manan Guy. I always don't know if I fucked that up, but also shout out to Bucky Irvin. You might want to go get him if you can. But I think the Bears have a better running game than people give them credit for, and I think we're going to see the rookie doing some stuff. I just don't think it'll be enough to get over the Packers, but I'll definitely be cheering for them to beat the Packers.
I think like people will be worried about putting Manungai in because he's going up against the Green Bay Packers defense, right? Put him in. Micah Parsons doesn't stop the run that well. The Packers are like top 10 defense in the NFL on the run, but actually, like, a lot of it is because they don't give up huge plays on the ground. They're actual like play for play. They give up yardage. You can march down the ground on the Packers. It's just they don't give up those huge plays because Parsons, and this is what happened in Dallas, like Parsons is so fast that he gets to your running back before he's able to break through the secondary. Like that's what happens. But actually in marching it down the field, you're able to do that. So I like that Kaiman guy. That makes sense to me. Jay, thank you very much. Jay, Amari and Hampton is coming back for the Chargers, and I think people will be worried about putting him in against the Eagles after coming back from injury with Kamani Vidal back there. It's Jim Harbaugh. It's the run game. They're going to give this ball to Amari and Hampton. They've been protecting him from coming back. He's been ready to come back for a while. Amari and Hampton, definitely. And I think a shout out for me as well, Jay, the Houston Texans defense. I think people will be worried about putting it in against the Chiefs. I think they are going to have it's going to be a big defensive game, I think, against the Chiefs as well. All right, let's recap those picks for everyone. So our best bets, mine were plus 6.5 for the Bears, plus 2.5 for the Chargers, and minus 2.5 for the Dolphins. Jay's were Seahawks minus 7.5, Browns minus 4.5, Jets plus 2.5. And just to recap, ChatGPT went for the Cowboys on Thursday night, but it also went for the Colts minus 1.5 and the Bills at 6.5. Okay. Our other picks all the way through. If you're still looking to bet 5 minutes before kickoff, you can take the Browns at minus 4.5. That's what we both took. The Seahawks at minus 6.5. We both went for that as well. The Colts at minus 1.5. The Vikings at minus 1.5. The Bills at 6. The Buccaneers at 8.5. And then this is where we started to disagree. I've taken the Steelers at plus 6. Ravens. Jay has taken the Ravens. Jay has taken the Jets at plus 2.5, whereas I've taken the Dolphins. We've both taken the Broncos. I took the Rams at minus 9.5, whereas Jay took the Cardinals. Jay took the Packers at minus 6.5, whereas I took the Bears. Jay took the Chiefs at minus 3.5, and I took the Texans. And to finish off the disagreeing agreeably, Jay took the Eagles at minus 2.5, and I took the Chargers. All right, guys, great show. 5 minutes to kick off. I hope you enjoy your week 14. I hope all your bets come true. Jay, do you want to send us out like you always do?
Yes, sir. And if you're watching the Ravens-Steelers game, I'm sorry you have to deal with Tony Romo. All right. Thanks for watching. Hit the like and subscribe. Hit the notification button because there's too many shows to just tell you about it. You just got to come check them out. One world, one love. Deuces.
Cheerio.